I just don't understand why anyone's doing what they're doing. It's like watching two slices of cardboard interact. But what I can't say is anything about it because I don't understand what's going on. I'm no doubt in my ability to sell 150 rolls of ribbon. Good morning. I feel like I'm getting to a little bit of a late start today. I mean, it's 11 and I've just about got myself ready for filming. Motivation this morning was just not there. So could it be because I'm filming my wrap up? I feel like my wrap up always takes, like I need to really gear myself up to film a wrap up. So that could be why. But welcome to this week's vlog. It is just a weekly vlog and the goal of this week is to just blast through some stuff on my TBR because I'm a little bit behind. I'm really excited to read everything on my TBR. We have a couple of 5-star predictions on there, a couple of book club books that I'm really looking forward to. I just need to get them read. I just need to sit down and power through. And tonight I am going to be doing Patreon sprints, which I hope is going to get me through a big chunk of the 2 books that I'm currently reading. My reading in February was very sporadic. I was switching, like flip-flopping quite dramatically between reading 30 pages and like 400 pages a day, which isn't my preferred way to read usually. I'm normally like a consistent 100 pages per day kind of person, but it worked for me in February. I did all right, so maybe that'll be the energy for March as well. But those 2 books that I'm currently reading, the first one is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, which I obviously is in my sleeve. So I will show you the cover at some point throughout this video because when I've finished it, I will obviously unsleeve it. But I'm 172 pages into this one, and this one is my current main priority read. The reason why I'm reading this is because I am a guest host for the MB Book Club, which is Jessie from Jessie on YouTube's book club, for the month of March, where the book is actually the sequel to this one, but I haven't read the first book, so this was on my February TBR. I'm now a little bit late, and the sequel, The Faithless, is released in March and is on my March TBR. So this one is an adult fantasy following a soldier called Terrain who was taken from a desert country when she was a very small child. I think she was only about 2 or 3, and it was part of this program that this like oppressive country balladeer was running. So they've essentially, they're sweeping through the desert and they're taking all of the cities as colonies under their country. And as part of this kind of thing that they've been doing, they took a bunch of kids from all of these cities and raised them in their schools and trained them to be part of an army unit, which Terrain is now part of. And some of the kids were taken when they were a little bit older and they're more bitter about this. They feel like they were stolen, whereas Terrain really believes in the ethos of this army. She believes in the country. She thinks that the power and wealth and influence and civilization that they're bringing to these desert cities is a good thing, until she is stationed at the city where she was taken from, and she is tasked with quashing a rebellion. And I feel like throughout the course of the book, like the main kind of plot is going to be that she kind of ends up wanting to work for the other side. But there is a secondary character in here called Luca, who is the princess of Balladeer, and she is trying to get ready for rule. So as far as I'm aware, her uncle sits on the throne and he has done since her father died, and because she has a disability, he doesn't think that she's a strong ruler, which I think is just a guise of like not wanting to give up the power. And so she has come to this same city that Terrain's at to try and bring peace between Balladeer and the rebels, to prove that she is fit to rule, essentially. And Terrain and Luca end up working together because Luca thinks Terrain is going to be the perfect go-between between the rebels and Balladeer to help Luca achieve peace. So the first like 100 pages of this I felt were quite rough to get into. The writing style is very like non-flowery. It feels quite stark. I don't feel like I'm getting the true, like it's not an emotive kind of story. So I feel like that is distracting me away from, not distracting me away actually, but just stopping me from like fully getting immersed in this. But since I passed the 100-page mark, I feel like I'm a little bit more invested than I was. So that is the one that I'm trying to like get through the most. It's the one I'm dedicating the majority of my time to. But last week I did also start an audiobook, which is Sanctuary by V.V. James. This one it is a bit of a fantasy. This was one of the first Illumicrate books I ever got, and I always wanted to read it. It always sounded interesting, but it doesn't sound like a fantasy, and the fantastical element I would say is quite minimal in here, because this is more like a thriller. Like, it's reminding me of Big Little Lies, and it is about this town called Sanctuary, where there's a group of parents, a group of mothers who are all friends, and one of them is a witch, and the rest of them form her coven. Even though they're not witches, they lend strength to her. So these women have known each other for a very long time, and all of their children are also friends because of having grown up around these women that are all friends. And one day, while the women are just hanging out, their kids are all at a party, and the son of one of them dies, who is like the star quarterback of this town, and everyone thinks it's a tragic accident. But then one of the kids comes forward and says that he thinks that the daughter of the witch killed him, who is the guy who died, the boy who died's ex-girlfriend, and he says that she did it using witchcraft, which is impossible because she isn't a witch. There's a ceremony that is performed on your 13th birthday that confirms whether you have a talent or not, and this girl, for all intents and purposes, does not. So it very much is like Big Little Lies. Something that I didn't expect about this is that we're following the parents, not the kids. I feel like the whole point of this book is about witch hunts, and it's putting it in this like literal witch hunt where this powerful and influential woman, who is the mother of the star quarterback, is going to lead the town against this witch, who is actually one of her oldest and closest friends, because she wants justice. Like, she's grieving, and this is what she's choosing to pour her grief into. She's turning against her friend, and I feel like she's going to lead everybody against this woman. And because the woman is a witch, and she's not as rich and powerful and has less influence than the mother of the quarterback, I feel like she is going to struggle to defend herself, even though potentially her daughter is innocent. So I'm 125 pages into this one. I picked up the audiobook because I'm very picky with audio, but I do like a thriller audio, and also like especially if it's in first person, which this is. What I didn't know when I picked it up that I'm really happy about is that this is actually full cast. So we have the perspective of a couple of the mothers. We also have a perspective of the detective that was sent in to investigate the case, not because she suspected any foul play, but just because like an 18-year-old boy died, and like everyone needs an explanation for that. And then we also have some, like, I wouldn't say it's mixed media, but there are some like newspaper articles, even though they're written, they're not like pictures, I guess. And also some interviews in here where I've just seen an interview where the full cast element like really comes through. So yeah, definitely a great listening experience, and I'm having a great time with this one. Still, if you watched last week's vlog, I still have one side of the doors to gloss. And I need to do a second coat on a couple of bits, or like touch up a couple of bits, which I can't do today because I'm filming all day. Curtis has a hair appointment in the afternoon, which I'm gonna accompany him to because he goes to my salon, and I adore my hairdresser. She's great. So when he goes for his hair, I normally just go for a chat. So I'm gonna go with him to that, and then I have sprints starting at 7, so I'm not gonna be bothering to change into my painting clothes and getting some of that done. But tomorrow, all I really have on is editing, so I'll try and finish it up then. I started this project at the weekend thinking it'd be a nice like easy job, but because of how many panes of glass are in that door and how many like sides, and then like I didn't want to gloss both sides of the door at once because then it'd make it really awkward because you're dodging around both sides of the door and nothing can touch anything because it takes like 12 hours to dry. So yeah, it's taking me a while, but I'm chipping away at it and I'm having a good time. I really want to get on, I'm just generally want to get on top of my shit this year, and I'm feeling a lot more motivated this year. But especially like I want to be chipping away at these little household tasks that need doing because I enjoy doing them. I just struggle to organize my thoughts. If I don't wake up knowing that I'm going to be doing something, then by the time I've got myself organized, it's quite late in the day and I don't quite feel like I want to do it. Like I want to get up and I want to get started. So yeah, I want to be doing a whole ton of stuff like that this year. But anyway, I'm gonna go because all I'm doing right now is procrastinating filming that wrap up, and I'll check in with you guys when I have I don't know, anything to say. Yes, baby. 100 strawberry and Nutella pancake tea bags. This is my favorite tea from Bird & Blend, but it is a Pancake Day limited edition one, so I had to stock up 100 tea bags. I'm so hyped. I'm gonna make a cup like immediately. What else do we have? We have one butter brew bag. I like the butter brew one. And one, a cold weather warrior. I haven't tried this one yet. Good morning. I'll just text my dad, let him know that I'm setting off. So I had a touch of the anxiety last night, and oh my god, Brie has dribbled all over my glasses as usual. But yeah, I was fine up until about 8 o'clock, and then my mood just like dramatically dipped, and I'm still feeling a little bit nervous today. And there's nothing like actively bothering me, but I'm wondering if it's because subconsciously, like, I know that there's something, like, I feel like I have subconscious things going on that are contributing to my anxiety, even though, like, realistically at the forefront of my mind they shouldn't be causing me anxiety right now. But anyway, I didn't read very much last night because I can't concentrate when I'm feeling anxious. But I am on page, I think, about 320 of The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, and I'm feeling some type of way about it, you know, because, like, I just don't understand why anyone's doing what they're doing. I don't know whether it's because the pacing's a bit choppy, but, like, I feel like you'll just be having a scene where people are sat down having a conversation, and then, like, 2 sentences later they're under attack and I've missed where it happened. So I feel like things are kind of flying at me out of nowhere, but then, like, in terms of the plot, the world, and all that kind of stuff, I am kind of enjoying it. So I am hoping potentially to finish that today. It's 10 a.m. now, and I'm heading out to the doctor's to pick up my prescription, which I think is potentially what's making me anxious. And because I will be close by, I'm gonna pop in and see my dad for an hour while I'm down that way, and then I'm hoping to be home for about 1 so that I can do some work. I have a vlog to proof for Sunday, so I don't have to do it over the weekend, and potentially I can edit my video for Tuesday as well, because I pre-filmed all of my content. I just need to edit and schedule it. So on the way, I don't know if I'm going to listen to an audiobook, because there's something, I don't know if you guys have known this, but I'm on Android, I have a Samsung phone, and when I connect Audible to, like, my Bluetooth speaker, or potentially, I haven't tried it in the car, but if I'm connecting Audible through Bluetooth, it, like, skips some sentences. It's not like a, like, solid audio stream. It's, like, choppy, which obviously is very disruptive when you're listening to audio, but it doesn't do it when I'm listening to a podcast or music. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to listen to Sanctuary, but I haven't listened to it for a couple of days, so I'm still under the 200-page mark in that one as well. But I am gonna get cracking so that I can get back, and hopefully driving, because driving is one of those things that, like, mentally I feel like I don't want to do it, but when I'm in the car it actually makes me feel less anxious. So I'm hoping it's gonna have that effect today.
You're unprecedented, and I regret that we never told. So when October rolls around, I watch my emotions, for they bubble over, chasing 4-leaf clovers. Nothing you more than I know. We used to walk along the meadow, you were pretty, it felt so serene. Later now, but that feeling is still stuck with me. The water's frozen over by the lakeside, down by the boathouse we used to dance. And I can't help feeling scared, 'cause I know that we'll never get that time again.
So a couple of hours ago, I did finish The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke, and I am sad to say that I didn't love it. There are many things that I actually really enjoyed about this, if I'm being honest. I really like the setting, I like the concept, and I like the plot. But I do stand by what I said yesterday, where it feels like there's just something missing, or like it's not, like the scenes in here aren't very well connected, because I'd be like following it perfectly fine. Hey baby. I'd be having no trouble at all with it, and then within 2 seconds, like, the status of the scene would completely change, and I'd find myself lost as to how, like, we got into this situation. The main characters, man, Terrain as a character, okay, is fine in a lot of ways, but just the way that she makes the worst possible decision at every possible moment, and it's not even one of those where you can clearly see that she's making the wrong decision, it's just anything that she decides to do ends up terribly. And I feel like the crux of the matter is, and the reason why her actions just don't make any sense, is because every action, every decision that is made in this book is bound to the relationships that the main characters, so Luca and Terrain, have with other people. And the problem is that I don't feel any of those relationships. So Terrain is making really difficult decisions based on her connection with people, and she's trying to weigh up like, okay, if I make this decision, then these people that I care about the most will be the least affected, or if I make this decision, then I can save these people that I care about even though I'm hurting these people that I care about. But I don't feel the relationship that she has. Like, there's elements of family and found family throughout this book, and I would say are like core themes in this book, but I don't feel the found family. Like, the relationships aren't developed to a point where I actually care about any of them. And a lot of the motivations, especially the motivations for Luca, hinge on a romantic relationship in this book that, one, borderline doesn't exist, and two, there is absolutely no chemistry or sexual tension between these two characters. It's like watching two slices of cardboard interact. So every decision that Luca's making based on the feelings that she has for Terrain, and I just don't understand their relationship at all. If anything else, I feel like their relationship is awkward in the fact that like Terrain comes to Luca in a position of vulnerability, and even though there is the show of like an equilibrium between them in this relationship, I just don't feel like they have anything in common. I don't feel any chemistry between them, which leads me to believe that the only kind of reason why they would even be interested in each other is because they're forced into close proximity due to the plot of this book. And this book is very much in two halves as well. The first is very much the setup, establishing Terrain as this soldier that really believes in the Balladeran Empire and is against and opposes the rebels and this country and culture that she's actually from, and establishing Luca as this woman who is trying to establish herself as a monarch and prove her worth to her uncle, and also just be good, like be a good queen, be a good ruler. And then everything kind of shifts with an event that happens around the middle of the book and sends it into a direction where everybody's making terrible decisions. Terrain's just ping-ponging about all over the show. And Luca, like, I feel like the overarching, because of how much this story, this first book, depended on a romance between Luca and Terrain, that I didn't feel. And I feel like that is it for me. Like, so much of this was about them and their relationship with each other. And because I didn't believe it, didn't feel it, wondered why we were talking about it so much, none of this book made sense to me. But the relationship didn't make sense to start off with, and then the way that Luca's actions play out throughout the second half of this book, I don't know how it ever could resolve in a way that is favorable for them and their relationship. Like, from very early on in this book, I said to you guys, I was like, the characters feel kind of stark, they feel kind of cold, and there's no like emotional tie between me and these characters that's really like making me root for the book. And that just pretty much continued. None of the relationships I felt were well developed. They just weren't written in an emotive way where I believed it. So I completely stand by this plot where like you're making hard decisions and you're having to choose between groups of people, especially in this scenario, and you're trying to do what's best, and that includes hurting people that you care about. But for this kind of plot to work and to pay off, I have to care about those relationships, and sadly in this book I just didn't. I will say that there were relationships between side characters, especially amongst the cast of rebels, that I did feel for and that I did care about. But anything to do with these two main characters and the relationships that they had with other people, I just really wasn't feeling it, unfortunately. So it is a 3-star read for me because it wasn't intolerable. I was just very confused about anybody's motivations throughout this book and why people still continue to care about each other after some of the actions in this book. So yeah, not as successful as I thought, not a favorable outcome for this book. I did expect to like it a lot more, but because I am a co-host or a guest host for the MB Book Club for March, I will be picking up The Faithless when it comes out, and I'll be reading it later this month. So now we're moving on to the book that I really need to read in March, which is, I've read 80 pages in Sanctuary today while I was finishing the gloss. I've done a lot of quotation marks in this one clip, but while I was finishing the doors, so I did a second coat and touch-ups on the frame, and I glossed one side of the doors, which looks like it's going to dry okay. So all I need to do essentially tomorrow is touch up the other side of the doors and any place where like the gloss might be looking a bit thin. But while I was working on that today, I did listen to 80 pages, so I'm 248 pages into this now. This is getting messy with the plot twists that are getting thrown into the mix in here. It felt very much like where it was going, like it was not going to wrap up, but I felt, based on what I listened to, that we were much further into the book than we were. And then I realized that this kind of like was only the beginning. So we'll see how the second half of that plays out. But the next book I'm going to be picking up physically, I'm very excited about and also very scared about. I'm especially scared because I've just seen how small the writing is in here. Oh no, A Road Between Two Dentists. This is Grimdark and I know it's gory, so let's not mention the word dentist, please. But this one was actually a gift from Linda, so thank you very much to Linda for this. And this is the first Catch Up Book Club book of 2023. We're going to be running this series all the way into, I can't remember what month we finished, but I think it's about like halfway through, or maybe towards like September of 2024. And we're going to be reading The First Law Universe by Joe Abercrombie. So this one is a Grimdark series. Joe Abercrombie is known as like the king of Grimdark, and he's one of the like not founding authors but like staple authors of the Grimdark subgenre. But this one is a very slow moving, character driven, political Grimdark fantasy following a fencing champion, a torturer, and a paragon of selfishness. No, it's a barbarian. Yeah, the paragon of selfishness is the fencing champion. So it's the fencing champion, the barbarian, and the torturer. And I believe there's not very much plot in this first book. The plot comes more into books 2 and 3. There's not a lot of magic in the First Law universe for a long time. And this book is just establishing the characters and setting us up. So the live show for this is going to be on the 12th of March, 8 p.m. GMT on my channel, if you're waiting for it, which means that I say I'm on a deadline. It's the 4th. I've got 8 days. It's not a small book, and the text is small, but it's also only 515 pages, so like I'm for sure gonna get it done. But I need to get it done now, just so that I can, one, rest assured that I've made the deadline and I'm not stressing about that, and also because I need to crack on with The Great Hunt by Robert Jordan, which is the Wheel of Time long book, for February and March, with the live show being at the beginning of April. And with 2 big epic fantasy book clubs this year, I really just don't want to fall behind. So my Saturday evening, it's like just past 8 p.m. I've had a really good day actually. I've like done some productive stuff and I've done a lot of like relaxing stuff as well. I'm going to do a 30-minute workout. I'm doing strength today. And I think I'm doing a 20-minute like full body, followed by a 10-minute core. I'm gonna get a shower, put my pajamas on, play PlayStation for a bit, and then I'll probably start this one in bed tonight. Fingers crossed that I don't struggle, because obviously like I've never read from Joe Abercrombie, so I don't know how dense this is gonna be or anything. So fingers crossed it goes smoothly and I don't like really struggle with the pace of this one.
Drive out to the farm and play around makeup till your hair was gray. I still pretend it feels the same. Remember we stay up on Saturday, can keep one from Pick and Pay without you. Now the time is strange, time is strange.
Hey baby. There you go. Go on then. Oh, there we go. 3, 2, 1. I know it's been a little while since we've had a cuddle. It's been a couple of hours.
We used to walk along the meadow, you were pretty, it felt so surreal. And it's a few years later now, but that feeling is still stuck with me. We used to walk along the meadow, picking petals, it felt so surreal.
Good afternoon. Oh, wow. We are unstable. I have severely derailed my own day today. I got off to a great start. I finished editing the Eye of the World vlog that I've got going up tomorrow, and it actually turned out, I'm not gonna say it turned out really good. It's not like the best reactionary vlog I've ever done, but like I never really expected it to. But it's postable. So that's gonna be going up tomorrow. And then while I was waiting for that to export, I was gonna open my to-do list and get started on like some of the things I had on there, because my plan for the day was to start with editing, do a block of admin in the middle, and then start editing another video for like the rest of the afternoon. And for some reason I decided to open up my account software, my accounting software, and I've spent the last 3 hours doing my accounts. I mean, it's productive and at least they're done, because we're coming up, like there's 1 month until they need fully finalizing, so at least they're done to date and I'll have very little to do in a month. But then also, like, I had stuff that I actually needed to do today that I now haven't done. But I did also receive a Waterstones parcel today, and actually it's really funny because this arrived about 10 minutes after I was watching Elliot Brooks' February TBR, and yes, it is the beginning of March and I've only just got into the February TBRs on my watch later. But she said that she was going to be reading this book in February, and I was like, you know what, that book hasn't arrived yet. It should be here, but if it never comes, I won't be mad about it. So lo and behold, it obviously turned up. But this one is, of course, Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon, which is the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree. I've heard that it reads like a history book, but it is about the lore of Priory of the Orange Tree. So some of the lore that's explained in that and plays a part in the plot, this is the story of some of that. I really like the cover. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous book, and I think this one's more beautiful than Priory. But I didn't like Priory of the Orange Tree, and to hear that this reads like a history book is a little bit more off-putting, because obviously that means it's going to be super slow. And it's also incredibly chunky. 846 pages, and I remember Priory being really, really slow. So this has arrived. It's a story about dragons with different areas of the world having different dragon mythologies, but my issue with Priory is that it leads up to nothing. There's no conclusion to the conflict really, or there is, but it's like a chapter. And also there's absolutely no travel scenes, so it gives the appearance of characters like teleporting around the map. But I did come to give you guys a little bit of a reading update. I'm 300 and I want to say 30 pages into Sanctuary, which I'm still listening to on audio. I will give a content warning for that, for sexual assault, because it is mentioned a lot throughout, and it is like I guess a central theme of the book. But yeah, I'm still really enjoying that. I think I'm really liking the audio experience more than the book itself. The book itself is pretty fine. It's just giving small town thriller, like very much in the style of Big Little Lies, where it's about the parents, specifically the mothers of a group of children, or in this case teenagers, in a small town. But I feel like the listening experience is better than the book. Like if I wasn't listening to the audio, I don't feel like I would be enjoying it as much as I am. And I'm not like super riveted by it or anything. It's just like it's nice to listen to. I'm enjoying it. And then the book that I don't know how to explain, which is rough because what I'm filming after this clip is the start of a spoiler vlog for it, is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie, which I can say I am really, really enjoying. But what I can't say is anything about it because I don't understand what's going on. Not because it's dense or anything, although I will say that the writing, like the way this book starts off, it very much kind of doesn't explain anything. Like we're introduced to these characters who are doing whatever it is they're doing. Some of them are going about their daily life. One of them seems to be a little bit like on more of a mission, but it doesn't tell us why any of them are doing what they're doing. So I am 136 pages into it, which is it even a quarter? It's almost, no, it is. Yeah, I'm a quarter of the way through this. And we have 3, potentially 4 main characters in here, although one of them I've only read from their perspective for 1 chapter. So I don't know if they're going to be like a central character or whether it was just like an alternative viewpoint for like a particular scene. But our 3 main characters are Glocta, Logan, and Jezzel. Glocta and Jezzel we're following as they're going about their like daily lives, I guess, in the same location. Logan is the one who's on a little bit of a mission, but it does start off, I think, with like the very first chapter is him escaping from some sort of monster. I don't know if it's a monster or just like a soldier from a different army kind of vibe. They're called Shankers, but we've had no explanation of what a Shanker is. And he then is he's not on a mission or a quest, but he is on a journey, I guess. So Logan's storyline is that everybody he's ever known has died. He used to be a soldier, and I'm very intrigued because I heard that there was absolutely no magic in here. In fact, somebody laughed at me when I said that me hearing that reminded me of the Realm of the Eldlings, where like you only really get magic later on. It's very basic at the beginning. And somebody said that like, oh, the beginning of the Realm of the Eldlings is like ridiculously fantastical in comparison to First Law. But Logan can talk to spirits, and his journey takes him to the home of the first Magi, who are people, or there is one person at least, that can perform magic. But one of what I feel is going to be the overarching plot of this series or world is that the magic is dying out and eventually it will be gone forever. So there is already magic in this book, which I absolutely wasn't expecting based on what I'd heard about it. So he's kind of on that path, and I have to say he is my favorite character so far. I think because he's in a different location. I think he's much further north than anybody else, and he's also like out in the world, whereas Glockta and Jezzel are both in a city. I think they're in Westport, and while their roles there are very different, they are both in the same location. It's like a city location. So Glockta is a torturer. He's an inquisitor, I think, and he tortures people for the king, but the king is unwell, so everybody who's running this country are like the council and the advisors. So Glockta is given a mission by somebody high up in the council to essentially interrogate or torture a bunch of people, creating false evidence to advance somebody's political gains. So it's very much a case of like, torture this person into saying that this person did this because I don't want this person to be part of the government of this country. So Glockta is pursuing that, and the only reason he's really doing it is because he doesn't have a choice, but he also has a disability because back in the day he was a soldier and he was captured by an enemy army and he himself was tortured, and this has like great lasting effects on his life, and it is very much like discussed in the book how it's very difficult for him to go about his day and how he actually was the hero character back in the day before this happened to him. Which leads us to Jezzel, which I think is how you say his name, but he's a fencing champion and he's also rich and privileged, and he's been sent to this city to be trained by a fencing champion to become the next fencing champion, but all he wants to do is lie around and drink, so he's not very good at it. Like, he has the talent but he doesn't have the drive and he's not putting any effort in. So he, from what I can tell, I'm not sure what his part is going to be. He's definitely the most humorous of the three, but he is more moving around high society and within the like open politics of this world, even though he doesn't want to be. He just wants to be sat in the pub, while Glockta is in the shadows doing like the shady dealings. This is very different than I expected it to be going in, because I thought that these three were going to be together, and maybe I feel like they're going to have to be at some point because they are the three main characters. But right now, while Jezzel and Glockta are in a very different part of the world to Logan, even those two don't really operate in the same circles, and while their paths have crossed, they haven't really had anything to do with each other. So yeah, it's different than I expected, but I really liked it. I feel like Logan's perspective is more what I expected from this. I feel like it's Logan's perspective and Glockta's location is what I expected this book to be, and Jezzel's viewpoint and all of the council and stuff, while I knew this was political, I didn't expect it to be quite so like in a bustling city. I expected it to be more like a struggling, gritty kind of environment, because I feel like in terms of how it's painted in my head, it's given like King's Landing, where I was expecting it to give Winterfell, and I actually have no idea what the overarching plot of this is going to be at this point, except I think there is potentially going to be a war between the North and the South, or the Union, which actually I'm currently watching season 2 of Carnival Row, which one of my favorite shows ever. Such amazing production value, like it looks like a movie, guys. If you haven't seen it, if you like fantasy romance, go watch it. And I say fantasy romance like the production quality of Game of Thrones or Pirates of the Caribbean with fae and like a fantasy romance plot. It's honestly amazing. But the way that the Burg and the Pact and the fae are in Carnival Row is kind of giving me the same vibes as how we have the Union versus like the Northmen, or that potential conflict arising in this. So really enjoying it so far, but I have no idea where the plot is going. I have started tabbing it, and I have actually received a lot of questions recently about, specifically about Eye of the World, where people ask what I'm tabbing in the Wheel of Time series. And also I've had just generally a few questions of people asking how I annotate. I have made a video on how I annotate. I only annotate one way. I only annotate high fantasy, and I look out for the same things every single time, so I will link that video up above. But if you literally type in my name and annotation, you'll get the video that you're looking for. But yeah, I need to start my spoiler vlog on this now, which is going to be wild because I have no idea what's happening. And then I'm going to make some graphics for like the Buffy watch along for Patreon, and also I need to announce the live show for this, which is going to be this Sunday as well. morning. I have spent my morning setting up for a candle restock, which I am still making candles, but there's just with the price increases of everything recently and me not wanting to inflate my prices like dramatically, although I think I'm gonna have to some degree, but it's just not as profitable as it once was. And I've known for a while that I can only give 100% to candles or YouTube, and both of them have the potential to excel and like exceed the level that they're currently at, but I don't have the time or the energy to give that level of attention to both of them. So I do really love making candles, but I'm pretty much doing it for the passion, not the money these days. So I've sorted out a restock. I'm planning on doing monthly restocks that are much larger than the bi-weekly ones that I was doing. It's essentially twice the size, and then potentially also having a new candle release with every single restock that I do. And then like the way that I'm approaching vlogs now, where if the vlog needs to run longer, then it does and it's ready when it's ready. I'm doing the same with candles. So if I need more time because I have a lot of videos to edit and I can't get a new candle release ready for a certain date, then that's fine. The restock is just going to be later because I'm taking the way that I'm approaching things and taking this time with them is making them better, even though they're taking me longer, even though you guys can't consume them as frequently as you used to. They're then better because without that pressure, I can then put more energy and like positive energy into them. But yeah, anyway, I ordered everything that I need to be able to put together a restock, and now I am setting up to do sprints with my patrons for the rest of the day. We're going to go until about 3-4 p.m. and I'm hoping to get to around page 300 in the blade itself, which, thinking about it, I have to go get because I've left it over there. But I'm just around the page 200 mark now, so I'm hoping to get 100 pages read today, which, I mean, it's 11 a.m. so in theory I have plenty of time. Why is this flickering so much? It's bothering me. But yeah, I just thought I'd pop in for a second, let you guys know what the plan is. I'm still enjoying the blade itself. I'm just excited and eager now to kind of get the point, but it's fine that it doesn't have a point actually, because I'm still enjoying the journey, even though I don't really understand the majority of what's going on. But I'm excited for that moment to come where I do know what's going on.
Wide awake in an empty room, all alone with the thought of you. Thought I'd miss you more than I do, but I kinda like it. Should I try and hide it? Got drunk and I told you I loved you, on a night when we stayed out too late. Did I really love her? 'Cause I'm starting now to wonder, did I ever feel anything? But even though I gave back your things from time to time, you walk through my daydream. Tell me, what am I supposed to do?
It's just so crazy that we were able to
Your
do
friends
that.
all say that you're doing fine. I know I told you, leave me behind, but tell me, what am I supposed to do with all these memories of you?
Good evening. I am about to go and get in bed, but I thought I would come and just give you an update and let you know where I've been, because it has not been reading. I'm like pretty much at the end of my tether right now as well. I am not in a good mood. Where are you? Oh my god, I found it. It's here. It's there. Can I have this please, baby? Thank you. Oh, thank you. So, reading update. I have not made it very far. I haven't been reading very much at all. I'm on page 306 of this, which sucks because it's Thursday night now. And in case you guys haven't noticed, I am extending this vlog past a week. Ideally until I finish this book, which I thought was going to be today. But I've talked to you guys in the past over the last couple of months about how I have like really bad PMS symptoms. So last week I went to the doctor about it and we discussed some possible options, and the easiest kind of thing for them to do to trial as like the first port of call was to put me back on the pill. So they've done that a week ago, but obviously now I have a hormone imbalance again. So until that settles in, I am anxious I'm tired. I'm feeling a bit ragey. So over the last 2 days, I've pretty much just been having a little bit of, or trying to have a little bit of a reset, because not only do I generally have I feel now how I felt for the entirety of last year, where I'm struggling with focus. I feel like I'm constantly on edge. So I can't focus to read to save my life. And then by the time it gets to this time of night, it's 10:15, I'm too tired to read because I've been like on edge all day. So yeah, that's where I've been. I haven't been vlogging because I've been trying to do things that I know calm me down, make me feel better. Ideally this vlog was going to end today. It's not. In a little bit of an awkward position now because the live show for this is on Sunday, and the only day I now have to read is Saturday, because tomorrow morning I'm dropping Brie off at the dog sitter at 10 a.m. and we're going to Manchester. We're going to see Panic at the Disco's last ever show, which would be great. I like Panic at the Disco, but the set list is awful. It's like 5 hits, the entirety of his new album, which is awful, and then 5 more hits. And he's announced that like they're breaking up, which don't get me started on that because it's awfully dramatic considering Panic at the Disco is one person, which is Brendan Urie, because he's having a kid, where like I feel most musicians just kind of like say, I'm gonna take a step back for a few years and concentrate on my family, and then they always end up coming back. So I feel like it's really dramatic, and like to sell tickets, the reason why he's announced that they're breaking up. And yeah, the Manchester date is the day that we're going to, which is the last one of the tour. So I think I would have sold my tickets if it wasn't the last ever show, to be honest, because oh my god, do I hate that newest album. But yeah, I'll be doing that all day tomorrow. So my next opportunity to read is going to be Saturday, and ideally I don't want to still be reading this and trying to finish it on Sunday. So yeah, I'm gonna try. I've been fighting with my TV. It's the Buffy watch along day. The Disney Plus app on the TV hasn't been working, so I'm gonna go watch it in bed and then maybe try and get a chapter or so in. I am really enjoying this. It's just my brain isn't there, and it's so frustrating because I know that I'm going to have to persevere with feeling like this for a little while to hopefully, potentially, maybe feel better in the long run. But man, does it suck right now. I do not feel good.
Good morning, baby girl. Come on. Yeah, come in. Come on. Hey, she gorgeous. It's that 2-hour drive today is looking like it's gonna be a grand old time.
Nights like this when I'm all alone, 3 a.m. and I check my phone. Don't know what I was expecting. See you out there living life. Wish I could say the same, but I still haven't found what I'm missing. Now you got me up second guessing. 'Cause even though
It is the day of the live show and I do not wish to be perceived. My first port of call for the day is to wash my hair, but I have 60 pages left of the blade itself, and I hate finishing a book on the day of the live show. I despise it because it makes me panicky, and instead of just reading 60 pages, which won't take me that long, I'll just sit here and think, I have 55 pages left. I have 40 pages left in 7 hours. So it gets really frustrating. So what I decided to do is, because it's Sunday, I treated myself to a lie-in. First off, it's like 8:45 now, and then I decided to come down and read in my pajamas while I have my coffee, potentially do a workout. My spin bike is broken. My pedal's really loose, and every time you tighten it, it just untightens, like it loosens really quickly. So I kind of need to take a look at that before I decide if I am doing a workout, and then I will get a shower and wash my hair because I am quite aware that, like, I mean, this isn't an attractive angle, but no angle is attractive for me right now because of this going on. But yeah, I have 60 pages left. I'm still very much enjoying it. The plot is also thickening quite a bit throughout the last 100 or so pages that I've read. And I'm very, very excited to get to the end of this one. So wish me luck and wish me not very much panic, please. Good afternoon. As you guys may be able to tell, I'm looking a tad better. I did a 30-minute Tabata workout with Ali Love, got a shower, just had some lunch. But before I did all of that, I finished The Blade itself, which we are currently about 6 hours out. Yeah, 6 hours and 15 minutes out from the live show. And it wasn't as stressful as I anticipated this time. For once in my life, instead of fretting about what I had to do, I actually just sat down and did it, which, I mean, is the desirable outcome realistically, but how often do I actually do that? Not very often. But yeah, I finished this. It was very high 4-star. It was I looked at all my core pile ratings for the year. If you don't know what core pile is, it is a rating system created by G from Book Roast. I will link it down in the description. If you are unfamiliar with G, she has just announced the spring round of the Magical Readathon, which is my favorite readathon of all time, and you should definitely go and check that out as well. But I looked at all my core pile ratings, and this is the highest 4-star that I've given all year. It's the only 4-star that's above an 8, bearing in mind that I only actually have 2 5-stars this year and 1 5-star that is 5 stars simply because it's a reread of a book that I gave 5 stars previously. So I did really, really enjoy it. I really liked the humor in this actually. It was something that I was a little bit worried about because I feel like I had heard that it was vaguely humorous, which can be very hit or miss with me. Like, I didn't like Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames, and I actually have to say the group of barbarians in here, the group of Northmen who we have the perspective of every now and then, and also Logan, reminded me of what I wanted Kings of the Wild to be and kind of what I assumed it was going to be, when it was a lot more faster paced and a lot more kind of like slapstick kind of humor than I personally prefer. But the humor in this was on point. It was, I guess, a more subtle kind of humor, like humor created by the juxtaposition of Brother, whatever he's called. Is he called Brother Longfoot or something? And Logan, because this brother, this navigator, just talks so much and doesn't stop, and Logan's like a man of few words, and just very subtle things like that. There's like a wizard that strides into a room ready to fuck shit up, like stark naked in here, and it's, I would say it is quite a subtle humor, like a humor that is displayed by action as opposed to jokes necessarily, which really was a hit with me. There was a moment towards the end of this that I also thought was quite moving with Glockta and another character, and it was at that point that I realized that yes, I have actually started to become attached to these characters, where the reason why I gave it 4 stars is that while it is very obvious throughout this book that there is a plot to this series, it's not really started. It's just moving everything into place, getting you accustomed to the characters and getting to know the characters before the plot inevitably does come in. So yeah, it couldn't be a 5-star because it wasn't like a full package for me, but I feel like the groundwork that is done in this book with the character work, the politics, we've established wars, or like the threat of war with different parts of the world. Also some magical elements in here that deal with like the history and the legend of the world, as well as I guess the effects of that are on present day. So everything is set up to be a potential 5-star read for book 2 or 3 for me. It's just this one it didn't feel like a full package. I really, really like Joe Abercrombie's writing style actually, which is something else that I was a little bit wary about going into an author that I'd never read from before. Also interesting that this is blurbed by George R.R. Martin, because I did see a little bit of not similarities to Game of Thrones necessarily throughout here, but I could see how fans of Game of Thrones would like this, and also vice versa. Somebody commented, I think I mentioned earlier, somebody commented on probably my announcement video of this, saying that there's like barely any magic in here, and I was shocked at the amount of magic that was in here based on that. But I think what I figured out is that I actually read a lot of fantasy that isn't inherently magical. Like if we think of Game of Thrones, Realm of the Eldlings, and this, the magic is all in the background. It's all mythological, historical, legendary, and something that like generally the general public don't live a magical life. So potentially that's why I don't read a lot of like magic is everywhere kind of fantasy, except I guess Sanderson. But I feel like the way that Sanderson's magic systems work, it's not like, I don't know, it's not dragons and mages kind of fantasy, you know. But yeah, I was actually going to wrap this vlog up here, but the vlog that I'm going into next week is not going to be a standard weekly vlog. I actually don't know what I'm going to be reading for that vlog yet, and as is my pattern this year, I'm not going to tell you what vlog it actually is because I crumble under pressure, but I won't necessarily be reading this in that vlog. So I've decided I have 1 hour and 7 minutes left of the audio. I just listened to a bit of it in the shower. I have 1 hour and 7 minutes left, which translates to to 75 pages, I think. So what I'm gonna go do is, I actually haven't tidied up from the unboxing that I filmed on Thursday, because obviously I was out on Friday, and yesterday I just felt hungover. I wasn't. I only had 1 pint while we were out, but we got back really, really late, and then I got up really early to pick Brie up from the sitter. So I just felt hungover for the entirety of yesterday. So I've got boxes all in front of me. I also have rolls of ribbon because my mum bought these many, many years ago. Didn't do anything with them, and my dad has asked me to sell them just to get them out of his house, essentially. So I said, yeah, sure. I didn't quite realize that there's about 150 rolls of ribbon. They're taking up a considerable amount of this room. There's like another one of those behind. So these are here as well. Don't quite know what to do about them. I'm now doubting my ability to sell 150 rolls of ribbon. But that's a problem for next week. So I'm going to clear up from this unboxing, and then I'm going to crack... Oh, except I don't want to throw away the boxes because I need to package ribbon at some point. But then when I've got some semblance of order going on in this room, I'll boot up The Sims, carry on listening to the audio while I do that, although I feel like at that point I'm only gonna have potentially like half an hour of the audio left. Okie dokie, everybody. I have, what time is it now actually? We are later in the day. Oh my god, it's 4 p.m. Wow, I didn't realize it was that late. But I have just finished Sanctuary by V.V. James. Guys who know what's what. Is this a mystery or a thriller? Can it be both? Can it just be a mystery thriller? Because like, yes, this is fantastical, but I wouldn't call it a fantasy, because I would say that the dominant aspect of it is the mystery thriller element. Like, that's the plot. It just has a fantastical element in there, and with the way that it's presented in this story, I would say that it's minimal. It's very, very minimal, because it's not about witchcraft. It's about witch hunts and mob mentality and privilege and power and scapegoats and grief and motherhood, more than it's about witchcraft. The witchcraft is just the focus, like it's a literal witch hunt instead of a metaphorical witch hunt, which we see, we still see witch hunts today, especially with mob mentality and like Twitter. So yeah, that's what it's about more than it's about any fantastical element. Very interesting that this was an Illumicrate book. I still stand by what I said, where I was like, I would never in a million years consider this to be an Illumicrate book or think that it was, unless I literally got it in an Illumicrate in 2019. But I gave this one 3 stars. I didn't like the end because it did that thing where it just info dumps. This is what really happened. So books that end like that and also ambiguous endings are the worst for me, because like, if I don't know what really happened, I mean, ambiguous things are ambiguous for whatever reason. I don't know why you would ever want to end a book ambiguously, but people do. It's a whole thing. But if it's not supposed to be an ambiguous ending, if you have to tell me this is what really happened, then you haven't done your job well enough throughout the book. So I gave it 3 stars because it was a really good listening experience. I really like the full cast audio. It kept me entertained in terms of it being an audiobook, but the actual book itself, it was fine. It was a good time. It fulfilled what I like mystery / thrillers to fulfill for me, in that it entertains me, it keeps me hooked, it keeps me turning pages, and I'm entertained during the process. That's all I really want from a book like this, because to me, that is what I read this genre for. So I am glad that I read it, because this was on my These Books Will Self-Destruct in 12 Months video for 2022, which you guys will have just seen my reaction to that and seen why I ended up picking this book up when I did. It was the last video that went up on my channel, I believe. So I'm glad that I read it. It hasn't been saved from unhaul though, because as typical with mystery thrillers, I do tend to unhaul them when I've read them, because the enjoyment for me is trying to figure out the mystery. I just don't feel like you'll get the same enjoyment and compulsion from rereading one. There is like exceptions. I still have Night Film by Marisha Pestle, which I read and loved. I still have the You series by Caroline Kepnes, which I've read. Well, I read and loved the first 2 books, the third not so much. Not anticipating loving the 4th one, but most of the time for me they're kind of just like one and done. So I will probably be on haul in this, but I'm glad that I read it and it kept me entertained while I was getting stuff done, because I glossed all of the doors, the kitchen doors, while I was listening to that. And also I've tidied the majority, what I can tidy. I've wiped everything down, I've hoovered, I've cleared up from that unboxing, but I still got all these guys here. Look, I can't get to my bookshelf right now. These are the boxes from the subscription boxes that I'm going to use to pack any ribbons that I sell. Why did I agree to this? If you want any ribbons, guys, send me a message on Instagram. I'll hook you up. Oh, content warnings on this sexual assault. There is a lot about sexual assault and like sexual abuse in here, so do be wary of that if you do want to go into it. And then the last thing before I leave is I just wanted to update you guys on my foot, because the last vlog that I posted, the majority of comments were like advice and stuff after like I'd injured my foot and I'd been and had it looked at and didn't really get much of a resolution. You guys helped me out and told me like a bunch of things that I could try to make it better. It is a lot better now, so thank you very much for your advice. I pretty much just rested it for a week. Didn't do like weight bearing intensive workouts, and I didn't take Brie for a walk. I just took her for the entire week. Then when that week was up, I slowly started getting back into it a bit, and I did 22,000 steps on Friday with no pain. I mean, there was pain. I have a blister on one of my toes the size of my toe, but there's no pain from like the injury site. So yeah, it does, like, it's twinged a little bit today, but generally speaking, like, I am on the road to recovery. But thank you guys so much for your advice. So the next vlog that you're going to see, I don't know when you're going to see it. My main goal is just to have it done before the end of March. Whether that actually happens or not, we will have to wait and see. But it is a vlog based on past experience. I feel like it's a vlog that you guys are really going to like. So do stay tuned for that if you are at all interested. And aside from that, guys, please don't forget to like this vlog if you liked it, and subscribe if you wanna. And I will see you guys next week. Or not, but like in spirit, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you'll go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.